In recent years, tactical shooters have started to overtake arcade shooters for the top spot of the FPS genre, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege is one of the best examples. You play as Team Rainbow, a combined anti-terrorism task force made up of the most elite members from all around the world. Members of law enforcement, special forces, and intelligence agencies come together to make the best team possible. Gameplay consists of rounds of 5v5 objective deathmatch, where the first team to die loses, or if the attackers are able to complete the objective, they're victorious. A huge part of the gameplay is what operator you choose to play as, because each member of Team Rainbow brings a unique skill set to the battlefield. Medical expertise, reconnaissance equipment, or literal war crimes. Anyway, since they implemented a new system to ban operators by popular vote, I no longer get to play my two mains. Ever. So instead, I decided to add a random feature to the game. Today we're building a wall-mounted display with the operator icons on it that will play like a roulette game and decide what operator I'm going to play. The idea is to have the operator who I'm going to play as light up with their nation's colors. I should note that I'm only going to do the launch operators this video, partially because there are so many operators now that it would take up a ton of space, but also just because the new operators are so sci-fi that some of their gadgets are literal walking, moving holograms that interact in real time. While some of the old ones are just a big dude with a big hammer. Sledge! Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So with that outline, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to need to do is print out the operator icons. Thankfully, we have a really good resource out there from Top Hat Waffle on Thingiverse, who already modeled these for us. I'll link to his profile down below. Now let's slice these into 3 parts so that we can print them in multicolor. Done with the operators, and they look perfect. Great, now let's work on the backboard to hold the project. To fit all of these icons, let's grab these 2 boards that are 3 foot by 1.5 foot and paint them a nice background gray color to help reflect the light. Now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and add some flair to each of these backplates by adding the attacker and the defender symbol to the respective backplate. To do this, let's go ahead and outline what we're going to want to paint in tape. With that done, let's go ahead and fill in the paint for the symbols. Beautiful. Alright, now it's time to get into the electronics. Let's lay out everything that we're going to use. Going around the outside of the backplate, let's have 2 strings of WS2812B LEDs. Let's have 4 high brightness LEDs for each of the operators in the appropriate color behind the symbol, an Arduino Mega to control them, and because the LEDs are going to operate at 12 volts, we're also going to need a relay switch as well as 2 power supplies to keep it all powered. Alright, time for coding. Here's what we're going to want. The 2 outlining strings of lights will idle with the 5 starting operator colors rotating around the board. Then, on a button push, it will cycle through lighting up each operator symbol and matching the string LEDs with their color. A link to this code will be provided down below. First thing we're going to do is initialize the library we're going to use. We're going to add the global variables for brightness, number of LEDs, and the pin selectors. Then let's set up this awesome library item called CRGB palettes. That's what we're going to use to control the string of LEDs. Okay, next let's set up the color-coded string LED color palettes, one for each color and a multicolor one. Now let's set up the light on function for each of the operators. When called, this function will set the color palette of the LEDs appropriately, and then it will turn on the operator pin for the correct operator while turning all the rest off. And let's create something to turn off the attacker string lights when the defenders are turned on, and vice versa. Now that we've set up both the attackers and the defenders, let's go ahead and implement them. Let's create a function named selectDefender, which first turns the attackers off. Then it will select a random number, and every time it selects the next operator, it will get closer to that number until it selects a final operator. We're also going to need to tell the string LEDs to update. We do want it to linger on each operator for a moment, but we can't use the delay functions since we still want the string LEDs to update. So let's have it only update once per every 20 times through the cycle. And finally, let's create the loop function that lingers on the rainbow LED palette until it either gets the attacker or the defender button press. Now that we're done with the coding, here's what the wiring diagram is going to look like. This is an example of what each operator icon will be, with a control line running to the relay switch, which when set to open will give the operator power. Here's the wiring for the strip LEDs. They need more power than the Arduino can provide, so you need to run them to a separate power source, but still connect the 5-volt Arduino power and ground. Now I'm going to build the wiring harness for the icons out of 4 LEDs. Let's glue some wooden blocks onto the icons to protrude them out from the backboard and give room for the LEDs. Next, let's glue the LEDs to the icons. Let's drill some holes from the backboard so that we can run the wires through. Now that I have that done for all the operators, let's get them attached to the baseboard. Okay, now it's time to do the wiring. According to the diagram I showed you earlier, we're going to attach each of the operator icons to the relay switch. Now let's put the Arduino on and connect the control lines. This is what it looks like once we attach the power wire to the relays. Now let's run the string lights to the power supply and to the Arduino with the control line. Before we move on, we're going to need some bumpers for the sides to hold the string LEDs, so Caitlin's going to go ahead and design those for us. Here's how they came out after printing. And finally, let's get the side bumpers in place. Now let's glue the LEDs down to make sure that they stay where we want them to. Lastly, let's install the buttons. Here's the wiring diagram for what one of them looks like. We're done, and the project came out looking really good. It plays like a good roulette game, and it's really fun to play Rainbow without knowing the operator. I'm genuinely excited to see it roll every round. Let me know what game or show you want me to make something from next. I'm Some Bad Engineer, and I'll see you next time.